it is. It is Tuesday episode of Donno Daily here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network with you guys for the next hour. Had to adapt the start time again today because, oh man, guys, like take a good look at these beautiful eyes right now while you can. These beautiful, beautiful blue eyes, because any minute now, any hour, any day now, I could end up coming down with pink eye. My three-year-old has conjunctivitis, aka pink eye. He actually has this virus. He hasn't been feeling well. It's good. They call it adenovirus, if anyone's heard of that, which he's got some like cold symptoms, low-grade fever, pink eye, and pink eye is incredibly contagious. So take a good look at these beautiful blue eyes while you can, because who knows? The next few days, I could come down with it at any moment. But I appreciate everybody stopping in. I want to remind you, before we get to the meat and the potatoes of this conversation today, you're going to have a number of good conversations today. We are brought to you, as always, we are served by the Quarterdeck Seafood Bar and Neighborhood Grill. The Quarterdeck is the official sports bar of Donno Daily. They're a proud member of the 5 Reasons Sports family. Guys, we're actually going to be having a Miami Heat road watch party at the Quarterdeck in Fort Lauderdale. It's going to be a Tuesday night, November 2nd. November 2nd, we're going to have a watch party at the Quarterdeck in Fort Lauderdale. Watch Heat on the road at the Dallas Mavericks. It's going to be fantastic. Guys, the Quarterdeck Seafood Bar and Neighborhood Grill has drink specials that never end. 2-for-1 happy hour. That is all day, every day. The happy hour is always flowing. They've got special drink specials during football season, Saturdays and Sundays, when you're there to watch all the college football games, all the NFL games on the TVs covering every wall. Every game is on at the Quarterdeck. You can knock down the 5 for $15 ice cold bucket specials. Heineken family of beers and high noon hard seltzer. Mix and match those to your heart's content. 5 for $15 ice cold buckets. The seafood is delicious. I can't stop raving about it. Fresh fish, fresh sushi as well. I love the sandwiches and burgers. The key lime cheesecake is an awesome dessert. There are so many great items. If you want to check out their menu online, and also check them out online because you can find the location nearest to you before you go, quarterdeckrestaurants.com. The Quarterdeck, come for the food, stay for the fun. We have an official sports book here on Donno Daily, and that is BetUS.com. BetUS is America's favorite sports book. Their customer service is impeccable. They've got the largest bonuses in the industry to keep you playing longer. I had a winning night last night. I went with the Chargers -3. Justin Herbert, the guy we should have drafted, gets it done again. His career is off to an incredible start. So we're winning money. We're having a great time at BetUS.com. Bet with the 3-decade leader. They're in their 27th NFL season now. You can join, and if you use our code, Donno Daily has a hookup. You can see the code on the screen if you're watching on YouTube. If you're listening back to audio, let me spell it out for you. When you're checking out, making your deposit at BetUS, after you create your account, which is very easy, you make your deposit and you type in our code 5RSN125. That's 5RSN125, and they're going to give you a 125% sign-up bonus. So if you deposit $100 with your credit card, they're going to give you $125 of free play money on top of that $100. If you deposit with crypto, they'll give you 200% on top of your signing bonus. How good is that? And then you can bet sports, casino. I play blackjack in there all the time. Horses, pop culture even, and more at BetUS.com. You bet, you win, you get paid. BetUS. Huge welcome in. I see Big Danny Weiss, the pit bull, is in there. Big Dan 305. Love this dude. Smash that like button. It's free. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I mean, support our sponsors because they keep us going, but the show is free. Smash the like button, man. Donno, looking at your eyes just turned me to stone. I'm now giving pink eye to all of you. Look at them. Look at them. I don't have it yet. Maybe I won't get it. Like, maybe I won't actually get pink eye, but my kid has it. And it's incredibly contagious. And, he's a kid. He's touching his eyes, touching his face, touching my face. And it's inevitable. I'm going to get it at some point. I know I'm going to. Enrique, welcome in. Brooklyn Rob, welcome in. The Mush gave his kid pink eye. I mean, come on. I didn't give it to him. He's probably going to give it to me, but I didn't give it to him. And I don't know if our guy David has gotten into the chat yet. David's usually one of the first people in, so I hope he's okay. I hope he's all right. But David was commenting on the title of this episode. A couple of big things happened over the last 24 hours. The Miami Dolphins traded Jakeem Grant. We're going to get into that. Miami Heat played their first preseason game last night. That was so much fun. There's a lot to unpack there. But given how much my Miami Dolphins are struggling, how much my Miami Hurricanes are struggling, I'm in football purgatory, okay? The Miami Heat will save us is the first part of the title to this episode. And then, my guy Dave, he was messaging me today on Twitter, and I get the sense he's not the biggest NBA fan or Miami Heat fan, period. You're entitled to that. You're entitled to that opinion. Let's go Heat, and thank God. But the thing is, David was telling me that, hey, he thinks I'm overrating the Heat because what have they really done since the big three was here? And okay, they haven't won a title since LeBron, Wade, and Bosh played together. Fine. But if that's where you're setting the bar, you're not allowing yourself to have a really good time watching a team that's constantly well-constructed, constantly overachieving, rarely, if ever, underachieving, and actually competitive every single season, despite the fact that, 7 years ago, one of the best players in the world left your team in his prime. That's fine. But you look at what the Heat have done, and I'm telling you guys, the thing that makes me so sick about being a hardcore Miami Dolphins fan and a hardcore University of Miami football fan and alum, I love that university so much, and it pains me the state that Hurricanes football is in. The Hurricanes, especially, repeatedly, the Hurricanes underachieve. I mean, how many times they've entered a season ranked? Who were they? Number 14 entering this year. This team's awful. They're awful. They routinely get top 25 recruiting classes, can never finish in the top 25. It's a big problem. That's underachieving. Now, for the first 2 years under Brian Flores, they weren't underachieving. I mean, they overachieved to win 5 games in 2019. They overachieved to win 10 games in 2020. Still early yet, but so far in 2021, the Miami Dolphins are underachieving, and the Miami Dolphins are a mess. So we are in the mud as football fans, yet the Miami Heat, and this is why I'm telling you, not only is this the best run sports organization in town, it's one of the best run sports organizations in the United States of America, okay? And I'm not going to start comparing it to various European soccer clubs, but when it comes to North American sports teams, the Miami Heat among the best run organizations in the world. Never mind the fact that, a team that was founded in 1988 has 3 championships. You've had an era of excellence under Pat Riley since 1995. You look at what the Heat have done, even in the last 7, you're entering now year 8 since LeBron left, since at AL, year 8 AL after LeBron. You're entering year 8. In 7 full seasons since LeBron departed, Miami's worst regular season win totals were 37 wins the year after LeBron left and disrespected Pat Riley, 39 wins a few years after that. In the other 5, the Heat were in the 40s, always competitive. In 4 of those past 7 seasons, the Heat have made the playoffs, and they got to the finals in 2020. That was overachieving. I talk about an organization that never underachieves. The Heat did overachieve in 2020 in the bubble to get to the finals. This franchise never flops like the Dolphins are doing right now, what the Canes have done for the last 15 years. For my Dolphins, underachieving this year, underflow, changes need to be made. Thankfully, they're being at least small ones. I mean, Jakeem Grant shipped away. I guess it's something. But man, I'll tell you, this is why the Miami Heat needed to get back into our lives. And you talk about buzz. First of all, I was watching a lot of the content that 5 Reasons YouTube has put out over the past, 14, 15 hours since the Heat Hawks game last night. Heat won their preseason opener. The buzz, the views, through the freaking roof. I was trying to get my thumb on the frame there. Through the freaking roof. The views, the buzz, the comments, the interactions, through the roof. This town is starved for a team that they can actually trust. Now, I think the Florida Panthers can also be really good this year, but resume-wise, obviously, I don't trust them as much as I trust the Miami Heat, because the Panthers, I love them, and I'm a big hockey fan. I'm one of the few big hockey fans in South Florida. I just historically, for obvious reasons, I don't trust that organization the same way that I trust the Miami Heat, but I think the Heat can be really good this year. I like what Ariel Jackson said. The Dolphins need to learn from the Miami Heat. Well, Stephen Ross, he needed to find a Pat Riley is the thing. It's like, Mickey Arison I would put he and Joe Robbie. Like, tell me if I'm missing anybody, but I think by far the two best team owners in the history of this city, it's Joe Robbie, Mickey Arison, and I don't think anyone else is even close. And so think about the common denominator there. Joe Robbie, who did Joe Robbie find? He found Don Shula, who was a mainstay for decades, coaching and selecting players, drafting, all that stuff. Who did Mickey Arison find? Mickey Arison found the Don. He found the Godfather, who for many years was coaching and drafting and signing players. Now he's just doing the front office stuff and doing it very well. So unfortunately, Stephen Ross has, been unable to find his Riley or his Shula. And, you got to hope that the Florida Panthers have done that now, because Bill Zito seems like a damn good GM. Joel Quenneville, proven, that's a damn good coach, right? They thought they had their guy. They thought they had their version of Pat Riley in Dale Talon. Turned out Dale Talon was a tremendous fraud. So they thought they had their guy. They didn't have their guy. They're trying to find their guys now. So that's the macro. I want to focus on the micro. Some observations from last night. Wow. Tyler Herro, 26 points in 26 minutes. And he scored in every way possible. You got all the best of Tyler Herro, creating his own shot, the step backs, the floaters, the repeated three-pointers. Folks, if you can get even 80% of last night's Tyler Herro, even 80, baby goat, that's right. If you can get even 80% of what Tyler Herro did last night throughout the regular season and the postseason, I'm going to make a declarative statement right now, but I honestly believe it. And this can only be true if Tyler Herro can find some semblance of consistency. But listen to the words coming out of my mouth right now. If you can get what you got last night, or even 80% of that consistently from Tyler Herro, this Heat team doesn't have a big three. They've got a big four. He can be the fourth of a big four, right? I mean, we all know Butler, Bam, Kyle Lowry. That's the new holy trinity in town. If Tyler Herro, who gets that spot start, I mean, we're going to see him, I'm sure, coming off the bench a lot this year, used in different spots in the rotation. He started in place of Jimmy Butler last night, who took a breather. Jimmy took a little rest last night. But Tyler Herro was vintage. He was excellent. He looked like the best player on the floor. He didn't play most of the second half, but in his 26 minutes out there, Tyler Herro looked like one of the best players or two on the floor for most of that time. If you can get that version, this Heat team has a big four. And now, and a lot of what he does and what Bam does and Jimmy, when he starts playing again, is going to be dependent on the tones that Kyle Lowry sets. As far as first appearances go, again, preseason, not regular season. His regular season debut is going to be a lot of fun. His preseason debut was epic. 7 assists in 14 minutes. And guys, it's not only the distribution and the assists, the lobs that the Kyle Lowry provides out there. It's the pace and the energy. That Heat team offensively looked completely different, and they look so dangerous in transition. I mean, Kyle Lowry adds you an element that obviously our guy Goran Dragic was just not as dangerous in, and Lowry can really change the complexion of the Miami Heat's offense in a good way. And so much of the damage this team can do now is going to be done within the first 5-6 seconds of the shot clock, which is really going to catch teams with their pants down, because everything that Kyle Lowry does is in fast motion. And, as we've talked about a lot over the last couple of months with our guy Brady Hawk, who is going to be joining us today. Brady Hawk is going to be our one and only guest today. We're going to make it a really good one because he's fantastic. He's going to join us at 3:00 today. And as we've been discussing with Brady for weeks, going back to when we started this show back in late July, what Kyle Lowry is going to do, to add another element to Adebayo's game, I think is going to be excellent. So that was tremendous. I mean, 14 minutes for Lowry, sat the entire second half. That was even better than I expected. I was really impressed, with some of the guys deeper on the roster. Omer Yurtseven had a bunch of boards. Caleb Martin, that dude impressed me. He doesn't look like a two-way player. He looks like a one-way guy. Like, that was really, really impressive. And he's a tough son of a bitch. He had to leave the game to get 5 stitches, came back in, finished it out. So that was really, really good. I like some of these comments coming in. Bubble Herro has returned, writes in Enrique. 5RSN has their own baby goated Brady Hawk. Sign him to a rookie supermax. I think we've already done that because I know within the last couple of weeks, like Brady keeps getting promoted. Like pretty soon we're going to run out of titles for that guy. he's he's like the lead Heat reporter now. He's credentialed to go to all the games. I'm sure he was there last night. He went to the scrimmage last week. He's been going out to practices. Giving that guy more access, it's dangerous for the other reporters out there because the hamsters are always running on those wheels inside of Brady Hawk's mind. He's got a tremendous basketball mind. So the fact that this guy's getting more access now, forget about it. It is over for the rest of the NBA media. Oh, man. And the Heat last night, you want to talk about the offensive pace, the intensity, the points in transition. 74 points scored in the first half last night. 74 points. Herro was tremendous. The threes, the step backs, the floaters. I loved everything that I saw last night from the Miami Heat. Oh, man. So the next preseason game for Miami will be against the Houston Rockets, I believe. What day is that game? Anybody in the chat can tell me because I'm already excited to watch another Heat preseason game. I'm trying to see when that game is going to take place. Oh, it's going to be Thursday. Okay, so we got a couple nights off with no Heat basketball. Oh, there you go. Thank you. Thursday. I see Manny wrote it into the chat. Oh, man. World According to Jermaine writes in, we just need Strus to improve a little bit. Herro, Robinson, Strus will be a nightmare to guard on that three-point line. Oh, any Heat players wearing Manny's shoes? I think not. Now, we want to do Manny a solid here. Manny, if you're able to pop in, or even if you can't pop in, go ahead if you can. But show me. We're trying to get Manny hooked up with a pair of PJ Tucker shoes. The PJ Tucker X Zoom Kobe 5 Pro PE. The retail on these $656. Bro, how are all the sneakerheads not broke? It's crazy. Like every 9 to 12 months, I figure it's time for me to get new, like walking around shoes, like new sneakers. I like to go with lightweight running shoes. Here's my routine, and this happens every 9 months to 12 months, depending on how much wear and tear I put on these shoes. I go usually to Rack Room Shoes, where I know I'm going to get like a good disc. Or no, DSW is the place I've been going to. I think Rack Room was like an old school. DSW. I usually go into DSW because I know I'm going to get good prices there. And like I'll try on a bunch of running shoes. I try to see what's most comfortable. Usually Nikes fit me best compared to like Adidas. Like I don't know. I've got a good like routine with the way the Nike sizes go. And my rule when I'm buying sneakers is if it's over $69.99, it's over my budget. $69.99 or less is what I pay for sneakers. And if I can find like a pair of Nike running shoes that fits me really well, comfortable for $64.99, sometimes $59.99, I feel like I'm getting a steal. And then my guy Manny, he's trying to start a GoFundMe for himself because he wants PJ Tucker shoes for $656. You know who I really feel bad for? Myself in about a decade, because I've got a 3-year-old son. God forbid my son becomes a sneakerhead, because, you know, I think the way that the prices have skyrocketed for shoes, it's not proportional to inflation on other things, like the cost of a movie ticket, the cost of gasoline. Enrique writes it, dude, that is 2 car payments for shoes. Oh my God. Let's get Sean Lewis from Akron to replace Manny. No, with these shoes, it's crazy. And like, I remember, like when I was in high school, there were a lot of sneakerheads. I was into shoes when I was in high school because at my school, like we had like school uniforms. So really the only way you could express yourself was with your shoe game, right? Like you couldn't dress up crazy because, you know, you had a standard uniform. So the only way to express yourself was with shoes. And like, bro, I can remember, like, I would try to like beg, you know, my parents to get me like, I don't know. This is like around, I was in high school from like 99 to 2003. And sometimes if there was like a really hot pair of sneakers, like I would beg my parents to get me like $120 pair of shoes. They always said no, by the way. I would get like maybe last year's model of that was on sale for like $70, $75. But dude, I can remember like back, 19, 18 years ago, 120, $130 was really expensive for sneakers. Like, are there high school kids out there who are actually convincing their parents to get them $656 pairs of shoes? Back in the day, I bought my sneakers at the grocery store, Brooklyn Rob says. I can't even imagine. Oh, I can't even imagine. By the way, I had mentioned something, going back to basketball here. But if anyone can donate a few dollars to help Manny raise the money to buy the $656 sneakers, please. Not this parent, Nick Cap writes. Bro, I'm glad. Like my kid, he's 3.5 years old. Like he loves toys and stuff, but I'm just so glad he's not at an age yet where he really cares about like expensive material things. Like he could play with a cardboard box and have the time of his life. Like I buy him some like Paw Patrol figurines and stuff, which doesn't really set you back. But God, at some point he's going to get to the age of these kids where he's going to be begging me for like the PlayStation 10, which is going to, whenever he's old enough to want video games, and he's going to want these expensive sneakers. Like I need to cherish these moments because having any kid is expensive. But once you have a kid who reaches the age where they want all that expensive swag, oh my God. Oh, and speaking of parenting, that was another thing I wanted to say about Tyler Herro. So Herro, unbelievable last night, 26 points in 26 minutes. And I said it, I'll say it again. If we can get that version of Herro, or even 80% of that consistently throughout the regular season and the playoffs, the Miami Heat have a big four, not a big three. But another thing is, I'm not surprised, or I wouldn't be surprised if Herro really goes to the moon and just rockets up this year and even surpasses his rookie form. He had a sophomore slump last year. To me, I thought last year a lot of Herro's issues were distractions, mental stuff, maturity stuff. Also, it probably didn't help him that, coming out of college where you play like, half or a third of amount of the games you play in the NBA, and when you make a finals run, because they made a finals run his first year. So the Heat played a ton of extra games, Herro's rookie season in the bubble and all that. You could probably expect a sophomore slump after all the extra basketball he played. Then you add in all the things going on in his life. Tyler Herro clearly has taken the time to improve his strength and his size in the gym. And I think he can go a long way with that. He's not a skinny, gangly guy anymore. He's kind of jacked now. So I like that. And then the other thing is, there's a big life event for Herro since this past season. He's now a dad. His daughter was born recently. And that can really change people. I might be the exception to the rule because I don't feel like having a kid made me mature a whole lot. But for a lot of people, that seems to work. And I think in the case of Tyler Herro, and he even said it last night, he's really dialed in mentally. Like he's really dialed in. I think he's in the best place he's been, even compared to his rookie year. I think he's probably mentally in the best place that he's been since he came out of Kentucky. And I think being a dad, it can change people, can make you more focused and more mature. You realize you don't have time, for the childish stuff that you used to be up to, breaking COVID protocol and stuff. You don't have time for that nonsense anymore. Now that you're a dad, you're not going to be out late at night doing the kind of stuff that Urban Meyer is apparently now doing again. We'll get to that. But no, I really think being a dad is going to help Tyler Herro focus and help Tyler have a great year coming up. Man, look I'm getting the spam risk calls. These SOBs don't leave me alone for a second. And why are the spammers always in Marathon, Florida? I feel bad for the regular people who live there. Like if you're just a regular average Joe who happens to live in Marathon, Florida, if you call anybody, they're going to see Marathon, Florida. Spammer, I can't pick that up. Same guy calls Enrique, he says. No, I do not want car insurance. Oh, it's the extended warranty is where they get you. So Ira Winderman had an interesting, a really cool nugget last night. They do that NBA GM survey every year. There's a lot of love for the Heat here on the NBA GM survey. The Heat are forecast to go third in the East. I agree with that. I think they're going to be third, behind Brooklyn, no particular order, because this all depends on, if batshit crazy Kyrie Irving can actually help his team this year. But the Heat are going to be somewhere behind Brooklyn and Milwaukee. I think they're going to be third in the East. So I agree with that. Eric Spoelstra voted best coach by the GMs in the league. Can't argue with that one. The Heat made the best offseason moves, they say. I love it. I love their offseason. You're going to see an immediate impact, not only from PJ Tucker's shoes, but from PJ Tucker on the court, from Kyle Lowry on the court. I think it was a great offseason. Lowry as the best impact acquisition, although no votes for Lowry as best point guard. Good, he can carry a little chip on the shoulder. No votes for Adebayo as best center. How dare they? Butler, third best perimeter defender. I guess I'll take that. And the Heat voted as the fourth best defensive team. Block the spammers, says the world according to Jermaine. Spam risk and his cousin spam likely. Keep calling. I do, when I get spam calls, I do go in and I block the individual numbers. Like you can do that after, like you click on the phone number, block caller. But they've got enough numbers that they keep finding me. They found me. I don't know how, but they found me. Oh, man. Okay, so I want to get to it. In a few minutes, we're going to be joined by Brady Hawk from the 5 Reasons Sports Network. We'll talk more Heat with him. I'm happy about what the Dolphins did today. So the Dolphins trading Jakeem Grant to Chicago in exchange for a 2023 sixth-round pick. Now, I'm not going to be one of these people who is going to take 1,000 victory laps and say, screw this guy, number 19. I hate him. I can't stand him. Listen, I covered Jakeem Grant for a few years. Really nice individual. I was pretty bullish on Jakeem when he got drafted. I wanted to see him succeed in a Miami Dolphins uniform. And I hope he does well in Chicago. Like I hope Jakeem Grant can have kind of a similar career path to the one that Ted Ginn had. Another guy who wore the number 19. That cursed number 19. Brandon Marshall wore it here. Didn't work out for him. Jakeem Grant, Ted Ginn, and even Devon. Was Devon Best number 19? I know that for 19 is just a cursed number for the Miami Dolphins, but I don't wish any ill will on Jakeem Grant. Like I hope he ends up having kind of a similar career path to Ted Ginn, who, left Miami kind of in disgrace and then ended up having a really, really nice career. Not a Hall of Fame career, but a nice, long, profitable career. I hope Jakeem Grant can do that because I really like this guy. But he needed to change his scenery. And the Dolphins also needed to make this move. And this ends up working out, right? Because before the final roster cuts were due at the end of the preseason, we were all kind of wondering, is Jakeem Grant making this team? Like, is Grant, when you consider he's not getting a lot of burn at wide receiver, which is, even with all these injuries, it's still a pretty deep position for the Dolphins, even with so many guys getting hurt every week. It's still deep. And, he's basically just a returner. Is he, and you drafted a great returner in Jalen Waddle. So we were wondering after the preseason, is Jakeem really going to be part of this team? Could he be cut? So it actually ends up working out for the most part in the Dolphins' favor, because now they can actually get something for him. Maybe Chicago hasn't actually watched Jakeem Grant for the last 3-4 years, that they're actually willing to give up an asset for him. So I think right there, for a guy that I would argue wasn't worth a whole lot, to get a 6th-round pick for Jakeem Grant, I think that's pretty good right off the bat. And then the other thing is, this front office needed to show people have to be held accountable for the inexcusable performances we're seeing on the field. That you can't have, and listen, I hope that there's more examples made, okay? I hope that you see something change with these 2.5 offensive coordinators who don't know what they're doing. I hope we see some change in either the protocol, the communication, or take some power away from a couple of these guys between, the 3-headed monster of Godsey, Studesville, and Fry. You need to change the way you're calling plays. You need to change the philosophy. I don't want to ever see Austin Jackson line up as a starting left tackle ever again. Something needs to be done about that. And yes, after Jakeem Grant put that football on the turf in that muffed punt, for me, that was the last straw. Apparently for Flo and Greer, it was the last straw as well. Like, he's done. Like, you need to make an example and show that people are going to be held accountable when either coaches are not coaching properly, players are not executing properly. You can't let it slide every week, right? Once the patterns of the Buffalo game turn into 2 straight weeks and then 3 straight weeks, you can't leave things as status quo forever. So, to me, trading Jakeem Grant, I think it was the best for all parties. Good move for the Dolphins. You know, you get an asset in return. You move a guy who wasn't moving the needle. I mean, he only had 2 receptions all year. 2 receptions all year. Trouble holding on to punts. He had to go. Okay, so it's good for the Dolphins to get rid of him, and they get something in return. You know, maybe the Bears can get something out of this guy. You know, he's going to be, catching like 180-yard bombs down the field from Justin Fields now. I mean, maybe they can rejuvenate him a little bit. So I guess good for them, and good for Jakeem, because he may end up thriving in a change of scenery. So that might end up working out in his favor. Nick Cap writes in, I'm 55 years old, and the reality is that I will never again see the Finns in a Super Bowl, and that makes me sad. Take your vitamins, bro. Eat your vegetables, jog, right? Because, like, what's the average life expectancy now, like, for men? Probably somewhere in the 70s. Nick, if you can push it, like, if you can eat healthy enough and eat some kale today, like, put some kale in your diet. If you can make it to like 85, you might have a chance. I could see the Dolphins doing something in the next 30 years. If you're not taking care of yourself, right? If you're, you got the trans fats working, Coca-Cola, whatever. I don't even want to say that, because what if they might sponsor us someday? I love Coca-Cola. But you don't want to be putting stuff in your body that's going to shorten your life expectancy like into the 60s. Oh, Brooklyn Rob says the life expectancy is 80. I don't know if 25 more years is going to be enough time, but if you can push your life to about 85, Nick Cap, he says the life expectancy in his family is about 70. Oh, it's not looking good. Cherish the next 15 years. I'm going to cherish the next 15 minutes or so. Want to bring in one of the awesome faces and writers here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network, and this is his time to shine. Heat basketball is back. Let's bring on Brady Hawk from 5reasonsports.com. Brady, first of all, man, they're giving you more access, which I think is great. I loved your content coming out of training camp, coming out of the scrimmage last week, preseason game last night. What were your biggest takeaways from last night, Brady? And expand on this a little bit, because I talked a lot about Tyler Herro and Kyle Lowry. So let's start with Tyler Herro, because Brady, if he can give us that version of Herro, or even 80% of it consistently, I think the Heat have a big 4, not a big 3.
Yeah, I think just let's start with that scrimmage on Friday. There was a couple takeaways from that, and I think we saw that carry over. The number one thing was that Tyler Herro is going to be handling the ball a lot. Like, even in the time when he was with the starting group, with Jimmy, with Kyle, with Bam, he had the ball in his hands a ton. He's going to get shots up. We saw that yesterday. He was very efficient. So putting shots up and being efficient, obviously, is something good to see. I think last night specifically, you saw him playing fast, but also playing controlled. And it's something Duncan Robinson said after the game about the pacing overall. And I'm sure we'll get into that a little bit later, but the pacing was controlled, but it was fast. And I saw that in Tyler. I think before, he would play a little too fast, where you'd get the lob opportunities, you get the floater, but you never really knew what was coming. He didn't really know when to make the decision, when to do which. Last night, it was all controlled. Like, when he was going to the floater, he went to it. And if he was going to throw the lob, he threw that lob. So I think it's just seeing his growth in that area. A lot of that has to do with his body, a full off season, getting that handle right, getting all those things kind of behind the scenes right, and seeing him play extra minutes and a lot of minutes next to Kyle Lowry. I think we talked about this so much in the offseason, and we got to see it immediately because Jimmy was out. We got to see them play, and he thrives next to a point guard. Like, there's no surprise there. I think we said Bam is going to thrive next to a point guard, but I think we kind of surpassed that. They stuck Tyler in a point guard role, but all he needed was a point guard next to him, and now he has them.
Yeah, and another thing on Herro, and you've had a chance to speak with him and cover him these last couple of weeks. Do you really get the sense that he's found peace off the court? Because I've talked a lot about how, and he's become a very young dad. Like, I didn't have a kid till I was in my 30s, and that still changed me. I can imagine for a guy in his 20s, but it can really change you. So, like, that some of the extra focus off the court. And also, like, last year was a tough year even for the veterans coming off of the, the fall run, the October run to the finals, the non-existent offseason. So it was tough for the veterans. I'm sure for young guys it was tough as well. But do you get the sense he's more dialed in this year?
Yeah, and he talked about that a little after the game even. He talked about how mentally just a little bit more locked in. And as you mentioned, it's the offseason. Like, anybody would be more locked in after basically his rookie year and second year were blended together. Like, this was his first time he had to just work on his game, focus on off the floor stuff. Like, I feel like off the floor stuff was pretty jumbled up to be a rookie heading into your second year and just being so wild, going from the bubble to this to that. So I just feel like mentally he does seem locked in. I think that we've seen that on the floor. I think maybe there was a little bit of stuff jumbled up overall, just trying to figure so much stuff out in life, basketball, etc. Now he has life figured out. He's just had, a baby. And now he seems to be picking stuff up for his third year. So if he can continue that, and they have a team built, I won't say around him, but they have guys around him that really fit his game nicely. This team has a chance to be really good. And as you mentioned, the Big Four stuff, he kind of elevates the peak of this team if he's playing at that level that he did last night.
So let's talk about Lowry and the difference that he makes. And you had a good line in your review piece from last night because, Lowry gives the Heat so many more possibilities in transition, and they can really kind of control that speed and that chaos. You wrote in your column, early offense could be crucial for this squad. Why is that? You say, well, the stuff that can be run early in the shot clock heavily benefits this roster. So expand on that. Why do you think offense early in the shot clock fits with all this personnel?
Yeah, I think there was the first three of the game for him came with 18 seconds left in the shot clock. They passed half court with 20 seconds left. He shot it with 18 seconds left. I don't think I've seen that in the last year at all, at least if it was a good shot. Like, I just feel like it's always kind of slowed down. We've talked about the pacing was a lot, lower 20s across the league, which isn't a bad thing. If you have the personnel to slow things out, go ahead. But this is not a team to slow things down. Like, you want to go full ahead. You saw that yesterday. Kyle just getting Bam involved to try to run the break a little bit more. I was saying it last season that Bam was going to try to need to get on the fast break a little bit more, but obviously that personnel didn't benefit him. There's no center that's as quick as him. Like, if he can run the floor like that and you have a quarterback getting the ball and basically throwing it down to him like that, he's going to look like that all season. So I think there's just all the things you talked about with Kyle. There's nothing that's been overstated. You see the passing, you see the pacing increase, the shooting, the off-ball stuff that allow Bam and Tyler to really control the ball and him still be an off-ball threat. Defensively, you saw point of attack guys, even guys off the bench. The point of attack defense just looked a lot better overall. Defensively, everything was clicking. But I think we knew this was a defensive team. The question became, are they going to score enough? And obviously the first half, 74 points, I think we got our answer. So if they get Kyle next to Jimmy, because we've yet to see that, I think that's when we'll really know what his role will be exactly. But in terms of pace, they know what they have. It's going to be a lot of running. It's going to be a lot of Tyler and Kyle and Bam together on the floor is going to be the fastest grouping. So it's going to be something interesting to see something different.
I want your reaction to some of these. Ira Winderman recapped the NBA GM survey. Heat forecast third in the East. I think we both like that, right? Because Brady, you've told me you see the Heat right there. So I think the GM's probably got that right.
Yeah.
I don't think either of us are going to argue Spoelstra voted best coach, Heat best offseason moves, Lowry is best impact acquisition. Do you think Lowry should have gotten a little bit of love as best point guard?
I think that's a little tough. Maybe one vote, somebody threw in there to be nice. Maybe that would feel
Does
a little
Ethan
better.
have a vote? Do you
I
have
don't
a
know.
vote? Well, no. Oh, it's the GM survey, so no. But come on, Andy Ellisberg, he should have thrown in that vote.
Maybe I don't think he's there yet, but I think he just fits exactly what they need to do. But across the league, maybe one would have been all right.
Oh man, and let's see. No votes for Adebayo as best center. Jimmy Butler, third best perimeter defender. I'll take that. Heat, fourth best defensive teams. Do all those check out for you?
Yeah, I think I'd have to see the three defensive teams that are above them, but that's pretty much what it is. I think Jimmy is I think they take him for granted defensively in a lot of ways. He's not going to be defensive player of the year up there in those rankings because of just I just don't think he's the type of player that's going to get the nod in that area. But what he brings on a night-to-night basis, I think, speaking of Kyle and bringing this back into the picture, Jimmy's going to thrive more than anybody defensively. Like you saw it yesterday, PJ and Kyle being put in the defensive actions inside pick and roll, and Bam's basically the freelancer, just allowing him to just scoop the ball up and run down the floor. That's always been him inside the action. So now you see him a little bit freer, and I think that's going to be Jimmy. And like I said before, if you ask me what Jimmy's biggest strength is out of anything in his game, I think it's defensively, just weak side, just making decisions. So when he can make the double, when he can hit the passing lanes, and that's going to be his role all season. So I think that's what you're going to want to look forward to. And I'd say he's got to be in the top 3 perimeter defense.
Somebody who really impressed me last night, not only for his toughness, he had to get stitched up, 5 stitches, came back into the game, his defense as well. Caleb Martin, who always seemed to be in the right spots. Like he didn't look like a two-way guy to me, Brady.
Yeah, and me and Ethan were talking about that, the scrimmage. Like he stuck out even there among that group, just going back and forth, being on the second unit. He stuck out. I think on paper, you see a reason why they went after it in the first place. For one, you can call him a two-way player, but he's not a two-way player. Like he's the most experienced two-way player you can get, why it makes sense in the first place. But looking on paper, this team has defense. They have a little bit of passing. They have spot-up shooting. The one thing that you're kind of questioning, we saw a little bit from Tyler last night, is that do they have enough shot creation?
Right.
And that's what Caleb Martin is. He's a shot creator. He's athletic enough to get to the rim. He's not afraid to come in as a two-way guy and throw a couple step backs and side steps to try and get some buckets. And obviously the spot-up shooting has looked good from the scrimmage to yesterday's game. So if there is, somebody goes down, they need to insert somebody in, they're going to have enough confidence to throw him in there inside the rotation if needed. You've seen it in the past. It's basically a revolving door of two-way guys, Gabe Vincent, Max Strus. Look where they are right now. They're both inside the rotation. Mm-hmm. That if it becomes available, if there's a spot there, then he's the typical plug-and-play guy that Spo would love to use.
Yeah, somebody we didn't see last night was Jimmy. Jimmy got the night off. So, I mean, how different, and I'm sure it'd probably be better different because Jimmy's one of the best players in the NBA, but I mean, how much even better can that starting lineup look with Jimmy in there? And then how might it look different, Jimmy playing off of Lowry especially?
I think the one difference is that there was obviously extra spacing in the starting lineup yesterday. You saw so much space to roam, which, by the way, I don't think I've seen ball movement like that in the half court. You could talk about Kyle Lowry pushing pace full court wise, but it's also the speed of what he does in the half court, kind of moving the ball around, forcing open shots, making the defense to go into rotational frenzies. Like that stuff is important. Jimmy kind of changed that a little bit. He's not a floor spacer, but what you kind of see is that they're still going to get the same looks because when he's driving, getting downhill, it's just going to gravitate people to the middle of the floor like he always does. We talk about Duncan's gravity when he pops out to the three. Jimmy has that gravity in the exact opposite way. When he drives to the rim, everybody kind of attracts to him. So I think that's the interesting part. We're going to see how they kind of split up the ball handling frequency of if they run the Herro, Bam, Jimmy, Kyle lineups, because there's one ball, all of them were getting pretty decent ball handling reps yesterday. So I think that'll be interesting. Can Jimmy survive as an off-ball guy long enough without a jumper? But I think he can off the catch and drive. But obviously all the 4 guys we're discussing are allowed or can play off the ball at a high level. So I think it'll look good. And, we know what Jimmy is. And I think even looking back to media day, Spo didn't even talk about, and in his presser before the season, didn't even bring up Jimmy. And I think that kind of tells you what is expected of Jimmy. They know what Jimmy is. They know what he brings you on both sides. There's no worry about what's going to happen. So I think it'll fit in pretty nicely immediately.
That's really good stuff. Hey, Manny, if you can pull up the picture again of PJ Tucker's shoes, we want to raise awareness for this. Manny Chang wants to start a GoFundMe so that he can afford these sneakers, and I'll admit they're nice. And whenever Manny tells me he wants to show me a pair of shoes that he's interested in, I have flashbacks to those awful Yeezy Crocs that he paid Oh my God! Oh my! That is the stuff of nightmares. Like it looks like there is an alien absorbing your feet. Like it's terrible. So these PJ Tuckers are a lot better. But let me ask you, and Brady, listen, you're younger than me, so you're probably into shoes. But if you hypothetically, if you had like 656 extra dollars that you didn't need for, living expenses, you just had 656 bucks just burning a hole in your pocket right now. Is like, are you going to spend that money on shoes? Like, is that going to be your that seems like a lot of money for sneakers.
Yeah, I'm not a $650 spender. Like I like shoes, but not in that range. And I can't say I'd be donating to his GoFundMe at the moment if if I had that extra laying around. But I mean, they're nice if you got it. If you could afford the 650 PJ Tuckers, go for it. But personally, I'm not in that moment right now.
They are nice. I'll give him that. By the way, this comment from Enrique Comas is perfect. He says, "Did Venom just absorb your feet, Manny?" I saw that movie over the weekend, the new Venom movie, and actually I watched. They're all right. I mean, I'm not going to say these are like snubbed for Academy Awards or anything. I watched the first one on demand on Friday, and then my wife and we saw the second one on Saturday. But Enrique is spot on. That those shoes look like they are Venom. Like it looks like Venom absorbing Manny's feet. Over 500 for sneakers. It's crazy. Listen, I appreciate you weighing in on that. And of course, all the great knowledge you dropped on us. Everyone, you want to make sure if you go to 5reasonsports.com right now, you're going to find Brady's recap of that preseason game, which was very enjoyable last night. In fact, I'm annoyed we have to wait until Thursday to see them play again against Houston. But Brady's recap was spot on. He includes relevant video clips, and his breakdown of the game is fantastic. So make sure you check out his work at 5reasonsports.com and follow him on Twitter at Brady Hawk 305. Brady, thank you so much, man. Enjoy the rest of your Tuesday.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
I love it. Enrique says, you got to pay me $650 to wear those. Manny just bet $656 on the team Mush likes the most this week, and you got the shoes. Oh, my God. There you go. Yeah, he faded the Mush, and he was able to afford those sneakers. I'll tell you, man. What are those? Are those PJs as well? You got to give me some context here, bro. I know nothing about sneakers. What am I looking at right now? Oh, what? Well, you paid $2K. You paid $2K for those shoes, dude. You should have spent it on Ethereum or Bitcoin. Like, oh my God. Oh, it hurts. Chicago 2015 OG Air Jordan 1. $2,000 for a pair of shoes. I got nothing. Like I have no words. I have no words. Like instead of paying $2K for shoes, just wire me the money for my mortgage payment. Fire Manny. The double entendre is perfect. Yeah, but those are classic. Sorry, bro. I'm not at the end of the day, they're shoes, right? But I guess maybe you look at it like an investment. If assuming you're not wearing those, you bought them for $3K. There, okay. You know what, Manny? I'm with you now. You're not wearing those around. You bought them for $2K. In 15 years, they may be worth $10K, right? Okay, you know what? That makes sense. It was like buying an NFT. Okay, I'll give you that.
The prices have raised $800 since I purchased them 4 months ago.
Okay, that's a good
Imagine
appreciation.
10 years down the line.
Do you have a magic number? Like if you see that those shoes are worth X amount of money, you'll sell them. What's your magic number? 10 G's? 5 G's? Like what's your magic number?
10. Those specifically 10, because those come once every 5-6 years whenever Nike plans, because those specific ones were the first model that Nike ever made for Jordan, obviously. It's called the Air Jordan 1 because that was his first ever shoe of his first year signed with Nike, right? So they've only made those, I believe, 4 other times since 1986 or 87.
Wow.
Yes. So the last time this colorway, specific Chicago colorway, came out was in 2015. So probably won't come out for another 5-6 years. Okay. By then, this 2015 pair that I bought that I haven't worn yet would probably be almost 5K, right? So that's my mindset.
Okay, you know what? I'll give you that. It's an investment. You're not wearing
the
them.
Crocs, I am still wearing.
That, yeah. Enrique writes in, Manny, you saved yourself by buying those. If you don't burn those Crocs in the next 15 minutes, a Miami Santeria Santero will show up at your house. Problem is he buys these shoes Probably never wears them. They just sit in a glass case. Like, well, if you're looking at it like an investment, that's what they should do. Like, you should keep those Jordans in a glass case.
So what?
So Brooklyn Rob, he refers to me as the mush. I didn't mush the Los Angeles Chargers last night. Yeah, I notice people, Dolphins fans on Twitter, they're annoyed by the whole gotcha thing about, hey, the Dolphins drafted the wrong guy. You had Tua at number 5. You should have drafted Justin Herbert, who went a pick later. Now, are you angry about this because you admit that it's the truth and the truth hurts? That's okay. Or are you angry about it because you're still holding on to this idea, this fantasy that Tua Tagovailoa is going to be better than Justin Herbert? I gave up on that weeks ago. I gave up on that fantasy. Now, I'm of two minds with this. By saying this, I'm not telling you I think Tua Tagovailoa sucks. That's not what I'm saying. I still have hope for Tua if the Dolphins don't replace him with Sean Watson, which they might. But I still have hope for Tua. But how can I look at the past 20 games, 20-ish games, because obviously Tua hasn't played that many games. Herbert, I think, it's made, I want to say 18 or 19 starts now in the NFL. And he's looking like he's going to be a future Hall of Famer. Like, he's looking that good. Like, he's been a wonder kid, Justin Herbert. So how can I still cling to this fantasy that Tua is going to be better than Justin Herbert? I haven't seen it. Like, I'm seeing some things with Tua's accuracy to think he can be a lot better than he's been, for his first 10 career starts. Like, I think he can show us more than what he's shown, but I don't have the evidence to tell you he's going to be better than Justin Herbert. Enrique says, I honestly don't know. Tua doesn't have an O-line, but I still want Watson. Yeah, but the thing is, last season, if you go by PFF metrics, which aren't perfect, okay, but Dolphin fans act as though Justin Herbert is playing behind a Hall of Fame offensive line. Last season, the Chargers offensive line graded out worst in the National Football League last year. They're better this year, but he was putting up ridiculous numbers last year. Now, he wasn't winning a lot of games last year because his head coach was a nincompoop. I mean, Anthony Lynn was a disgrace. So he was their head coach was single-handedly causing them games. Their rookie quarterback was putting up tremendous numbers, record-setting rookie numbers last year. And that's despite the fact, and I was right, 19 career starts. Boom, I'm smarter than I give myself credit for. And that was despite the fact that he had the worst offensive line in the league. And you look at those numbers from last year, 66.6% completions, 4,300 yards, my God, 31 touchdowns to 10 INTs. That's a 3-to-1 ratio. You're going to say, but Donno, Tua only threw 5 interceptions last year, but how many touchdowns did he throw? 9, 10? I mean, so you go by the rate, 31 touchdowns to 10 interceptions is fantastic. David writes in, maybe Donno should mush Justin Herbert. I think he's unmushable. I think he's so good. Yeah, 32 sacks. 32 times he got sacked last year. That's a lot of sacks, man. So I'll tell you. So any Dolphin fan who's been clinging to this fake news, this fantasy that you think, hey, Herbert put up huge numbers last year, but he had this great offensive line. It's not true. He didn't have a great worst offensive line in the league if you go by the Pro Football Focus numbers. That was a bad offensive line. David says, Donno, do a Justin Herbert show tomorrow. But I had a point to tie this back into the Dolphins when I brought up Justin Herbert. Okay. Do we consider now the non-drafting of Justin Herbert? Is that a bigger failure for Chris Grier or a bigger failure for Brian Flores? Because remember something here, okay? A couple years ago, who coached in the Pro Bowl? Flo. Flo coached the Pro Bowl. He coached Justin Herbert. The Senior Bowl, not the Pro Bowl. Let me start that over. Senior Bowl a couple years ago. Brian Flores coached the Senior Bowl, okay? And he coached Justin Herbert. And then somehow and Herbert had a great Senior Bowl week, okay? So it's not like he sucked at the Senior Bowl and then just showed up out of nowhere in the LA Chargers and started playing great. He had an excellent Senior Bowl week. Brian Flores coached him, and then still the Dolphins end up drafting Tua because, okay, I will admit, before the 2020 draft, who did I want? I wanted Tua Tagovailoa. I wanted him. I didn't want Justin Herbert. but I'm not paid 7 figures to make those decisions. Chris Grier and Brian Flores are. So how do you come out of that Senior Bowl week where Flo is coaching Justin Herbert and he's doing really well, and you still decide to draft Tua? He's relaying that information to the GM. Now, I'll tell you why I'm going to default to blaming the GM more, Chris Grier, for 2 reasons. Grier has final say, okay? So it is possible. I don't know if this is what happened, but it is possible he overruled Flo. And then the other part of that is there is a report that came out last week that, and to me, this is cover your ass time, okay? Like you want this information to get thrown out there, but maybe it's true. A report came out last week that Flores actually did want Herbert, and it was Grier that wanted Tua. So I'm going to put that failure primarily on Chris Grier, the general manager, but I'm not going to let Flo completely off the hook because he coached Herbert in that Senior Bowl, and maybe he should have done a better job explaining to Chris Grier why this is the guy that they need to draft. Ray Grouillon. Hello, Ray. Howdy, Ray. He says, let's wait until I see Tua until the end of this year. Have to give Tua this year. Listen, he's expected to come back for the Jaguars game. So I hope he does well, and I hope he can stay healthy the rest of the year because that's been Tua's issue. Tua's issue has been staying healthy. And Andy's right. Also a report that Dan Marino advised them to pick Herbert. Everyone wants to distance themselves now from the Tua decision. You notice that. Like everyone's like, it wasn't my call. They're all putting it on Chris Grier. By the way, I have to bring this up before we wrap up the show in a few minutes. Urban Meyer. This guy, Herb is living my best life at the college bars. But the problem is he's doing this stuff in his 50s that I was trying to do in my teens and 20s, right? When you've got the college age women grinding up on you in the bar. Like, bro, when I first saw that Urban Meyer video in the bar, and he was clearly wasted is the thing. He was taking all those pictures with co-eds, and he had like the glossy eyes. Like, I can't really do it, but I'm trying to. Like Barney from The Simpsons. Like his eyes were all glossed over. And then that video, he's sitting on that bar stool, and that like 20-year-old blonde is grinding on him. Like, oh, it's humiliating. And do you have a couple of those Michael Silver tweets? Oh, look at Herb. Dude. That is the face of a guy who just had a 20-year-old bleach blonde co-ed grinding up all over his junk. Like that's the face. That's the only thing that could inspire a face like that, Urban Meyer. But do you have Manny? I put in the DM thread a couple of these tweets from Michael Silver, a couple tweets from this thread about Urban. So this shouldn't surprise anyone. He's already losing his locker room. Urban Meyer is already losing his team. The Urban Meyer situation in Jacksonville has reached a crisis point, especially in the locker room. One player told me, quote, he has zero credibility in that stadium. He had very little to begin with. And then bring up the second one from the thread as well. Players were particularly put off by the fact that Meyer canceled Monday's team meeting as he dealt with the uproar over the videos of him and a young woman getting cozy in that Ohio bar. Quote, he even canceled the team meeting. He was too scared, a player said. That's how you lose the respect of your locker room. Like, you cancel a team meeting because you think your players are going to make fun of you, give you a hard time because you had like some barely legal college student grinding up all over your crotch at that bar. It's embarrassing. Now, here's the theory, and I should probably put on the old tinfoil hat for this one. People are theorizing that Urban Meyer, he's the George Costanza of NFL coaching. He's trying to get fired. That's the way this conspiracy theory goes. It's only taken Herb 4 games and an 0-4 record, and their franchise quarterback hasn't looked great so far. I'm gonna give Trevor Lawrence time, but he's not looked great so far. I'm gonna give him time. And so Urban, he's doing that thing he does. When the going gets tough, Urban Meyer gets going. Okay, when you start to hit some adversity, your players don't respect you. You haven't won a game. The USC job comes open. Urban has coveted that job for years. He's like the idea of being the USC head coach. There's a theory that Meyer is sabotaging his career in Jacksonville to try to get himself open for that USC job. Even for Urban, that seems like incredibly self-destructive behavior. There's got to be another way to do that, right? Because like potentially getting yourself fired in disgrace, like amidst, a scandal, although he's been down that road before when he had that, the domestic abuser working for him at Ohio State. So this is not unfamiliar territory for Urban to go down in an embarrassment, but there's got to be a better playbook than this. Just keep losing games, heart palpitations come back, the migraines come back, got to spend more time with my family. Then whoops, I'm in Southern California. I'm taking the USC job. Even for Urban, this seems like destructive behavior. Now, despite all this, I think Urban, anybody with a brain could have predicted this guy's not an NFL coach. This guy is not an NFL. This is a college coach. His philosophies, both on and off the field, are not going to work when the players are making more money than he is. Like, it's just not going to work. We all saw this coming from 1,000 miles away. If the University of Miami could pony up and pay that man, I would take him. I would take him. I don't like him. I would sell my soul to have Urban Meyer coaching the U. I would sell my soul. Not expecting it in a million years. He's going to be incredibly expensive. He's going to want an incredibly expensive coaching staff. He's going to want assurances about the athletic department investing heavily in the football program. I'm not even going to allow myself to fantasize about it. The unfortunate truth is, even though USC they're not that different from Miami. Now, they do have a larger alumni base than Miami. They do. It's a bigger school, but it is also a private institution. They've not been relevant for years. They've, unfortunately for us, USC, they've been somewhat irrelevant, but not nearly as long as Miami has been irrelevant. So USC, they're still willing and able to spend big, invest big in their program. Miami is not, unfortunately. So we couldn't. And yeah, Enrique writes in, sell it all, my car, Manny's Crocs.
Ridiculous, man. You guys are absolutely ridiculous.
Because I want a great head coach.
Urban will return to Gainesville before he goes to Florida, man.
I'm not saying he's going to do it. I'm saying I would be willing to part with outside of my child. I'd be willing to part with any of my material and immaterial possessions to get Urban Meyer coaching the U. I would keep my son. That's about it.
If Urban stays in Florida, it's to be at Gainesville. It's not to go to Miami. I'll tell you that right now. For a fact.
I'm not doubting you, man. I'm just saying. All this to say, I think he's a disgrace of an NFL coach, disgrace of a human being. I would take him coaching my team. Get the Venom shoes painted in black and say it's Venom shoes. Money, money, money. I'm telling you, man, you'd be better off that way.
Now, Lane Kiffin. Lane Kiffin will be nice for you guys.
I would love Lane.
Lane train down in Miami, I think, would create such a connection with the younger kids because, let's be honest, these kids that are 18, 19 years old, nobody remembers the 2000s, man. Let's be clear. No way. Yeah. But Lane Kiffin will definitely have a connection.
And Manny, we can agree on this, right? For as much as Dolphin fans and Hurricanes fans are in the mud, better to be us than Jacksonville Jaguars fans.
Oh, absolutely.
They're way worse off than us.
Absolutely. Right, they make the conference title game once every 20 years and make the playoffs once every 50. So if I were you guys, don't get so down on yourselves. I would say this though, seeing the Browns succeed a little bit does pain. Seeing the Titans with the ex-quarterback making the playoffs, conference title game, I don't think that's a great feeling either. And seeing Herbert, man, listen, I'm gonna be honest with you. I went out and bought a Tua authentic jersey, and I'm not even a Dolphins fan. I'm not feeling too good right now.
Maybe you should start. Maybe if you get a number 4 Deshaun Watson before he arrives, you might be able to get it at a discount.
No, absolutely not. Thank God. Listen, at least that Eagle connection is gone because it would have been really hard for me to actually root for that team.
No, I hear you. I hear you. And pull up. Can you pull up one more tweet for me? The one from Pro Football Talk that pointed out and I don't have anything new from my source since before. This is the game Sunday. The last I heard from him was on Saturday, and he said the ball is in Houston's court. So we're waiting on Houston to decide if they're willing to get a deal done that suits what Miami is offering. But this is not dying, folks. Like this is not going away. This Deshaun Watson stuff. Mike Florio from Pro Football Talk writes, there's 4 weeks left for a possible Deshaun Watson trade in 2021, and the Dolphins remain the prime, if not only candidate to do a deal. Should they make it happen? A lot of people seem to be coming around on this. I wish there was another way. And, I had a conversation with one of our viewers on Twitter. We were DMing. We had a really good conversation where, multiple times on this show, I have referred to Deshaun Watson as a scumbag. Okay. Those words might be a little bit harsh for a guy who's not actually been convicted of anything yet. Okay. So I will take that back. Okay. And there's probably people playing in the NFL right now that have done worse things than what he's been accused of. So I will take that back. I'm very uneasy about the accusations. You know that, but I think it's starting to become more and more evident that with the way Chris Grier has misused so many draft picks and so many assets, making a deal like this might be one of the only ways he can save his job, prolong his job. And he also knows if I don't make this trade, I may not be around long enough to use these draft picks that I'd be trading for him anyway. So think about that self-preservation, right? Because if Chris Grier is thinking, if I don't make this trade, I'm going to get fired at the end of the year, and then I won't be able to use these 3 first-round picks, second-round pick, and 2 third-round picks anyway. So I might as well make this deal. All right, we got to wrap it up. We got to run. Want to remind you, please support our sponsors, Quarterdeck Seafood Bar and Neighborhood Grill. All football season long, guys, the 5 for $15 ice cold bucket specials. The food is so good. They've got 2 for $1 happy hour all day, every day. This is the best place to watch all the NFL college football games. And now the NBA games at the NBA is coming back. Florida Panthers are going to be coming back. Regular season games really soon. The Quarterdeck is the spot. Come for the food, stay for the fun. And guys, make sure you are taking advantage of our sportsbook sponsor. This is a full sportsbook, guys. This is not like a daily fantasy pick'em thing. This is a full sports book, odds on everything, sports, pop culture, all the major sports leagues, betting on NFL, Thursdays, Sundays, and Mondays, college football, UFC fights, all that good stuff at BetUS.com. Sign up with our code 5RSN125. That's 5RSN125 for a 125% sign-up bonus with your first deposit. Huge shout out to everybody who's tuned in. We got to run, so I don't have time for too many shout outs, but I see David, Brooklyn Rob, Ariel, Enrique's been very active, KG, Ray Grullon, Nick Cap. Thank you so much, guys. And I don't have time to scroll today, but I do as much. Good show, Donno, and don't mush the Panthers. Thank you, David. We'll talk to everybody again tomorrow. We're going to be going back to our noon time slot tomorrow. Now, from next week, we may be moving to a later afternoon time slot because it's better for the crew. So we'll keep you updated on that. But for the rest of this week, noon until 1 p.m. right here on Donno Daily on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Ciao.